Hello. What I'm going to talk to you today about is how you can use Spinnaker to manage Snowflake artifacts, like schema files or stored procedures or whatever it is, and manage them in Git, and how you can propagate them through a Spinnaker pipeline to a staging environment in Snowflake and then onto a production environment. So I will have some files in Git. A very simple example. This is like a demonstrative thing. It could be complex than what I'm going to show you. And that I have a stage that will fetch those and apply those changes to Snowflake. You get to review it. If it looks good, then you apply to production. So let's look at the pipeline that we have. So we have a pipeline called Snowflake schema update. If I look at the configuration of it, it's triggered by a git change. So whenever there's a git change in this repo, this pipeline will be triggered, and it takes in two parameters, a DB stage name and a production stage name. Then, there's a simple check in here that if there are no artifacts in the pipeline, there's no need to run this pipeline. So that check is in there. Then this is the stage that takes in the DB name and the artifacts that's coming in through the trigger and applies it to the Snowflake stage. So this is a custom stage that we have that uses SQL to talk to a Snowflake database. This is a manual stage where the pipeline pauses and waits for a manual intervention while you go ahead and review the schema. You could replace it by running some tests against your stage database and a lot of other things that you can do. But here we just have a manual stage. Once you're satisfied, you let it go through and let it run the same thing using the custom schema or stage we have to a prod Snowflake instance. That's what we go through. Here we have a pod stage and have some kosher cleanup stuff that we have put in place so that we clean up any of the stages that we have created. So let's go look at what our schema looks like. So we have a Snowflake instance where we have two databases. One's called FRB prod that has information schema standard, and a public that has a table called FRB EMP data that has a bunch of columns. Then we also have FRB stage that has again a public schema and table EMP data that has a bunch of columns in there. So let's look at what our SQL file in Git looks like. Like I said, this is not a complex, just showing concepts. So all this file is doing is that it's going to create a schema and it's going to alter the table that I have. So let me make a change to this table, right? I have this table that has a column. I'm going to call this column job. So I'm going to introduce a column, add a column called job to that table. Again, like I was saying, it's a very simple example just to prove the concept that you can have files in Git that you can propagate to Snowflake. So let me commit the changes, save it. And once it's saved, if I go look at Snowflake, the schema pipeline, we should see that this is triggered. Absolutely, it is running. So what this is doing is this is going and fetching the Git changes. The Git changes is coming as part of the pipeline trigger. It's fetching those changes and applying those changes to the stage schema at this time, right? And once the stage schema is updated, it will wait here. Like you see, it went into this wait stage, waiting for you to review it. Let's do our review here. So we go in, we say there's the stage schema, right? So let's refresh this. Remember, there's no schema called FRB schema. So let's refresh this. And you see, there's this FRB schema that got added here. And if we look at the FRB EMP table, you see there's this column called job that got added with 120 characters, right? Okay, so I've done all my tests. Everything looks great. I'm ready to push this onto production. So I go ahead and say, okay, this looks good. Let's push it out to production. And now the same thing is going on to production. Okay. Now, What I also want to show you here is that in the previous stage that run, I could actually go ahead and look at the output, of the command. So it basically all the SnowSQL commands that got run, it tells me the output of that. So if there have been errors, I could see the errors and take corrective actions to what happened over there. So I could do all of those things right from here. So let's close and see if our stage got completed. It's running for about 35 minutes. It should finish anytime soon. So, our example was very simple one, but the main idea is that, you could take this and do anything complex. If you have Java stored procedures that you want to run, that you want to build, compile, and push it through to Snowflake, you could do all of those things too. So this one has completed. Now it's waiting. So let's go and see if that's got applied to my production schema. So here's my prod schema. Let me refresh that. There you go. I have my FRB schema that got applied over here. And if I look at this table, I have this column job also applied over there. So what you saw is that I made a git change, and through this pipeline, I could propagate those changes through my corporate approval processes, governance, and all the checks and balances into Snowflake. So this way I can manage my data and analytics tools, pipelines, and all that, whatever I want to do through Spinnaker. Hope this was useful to you. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. Thank you.